Okay, so when you hear aluminum, you probably think soda cans, right? Or maybe airplane wings. But today, we're going to put on a totally different hat. We're going to think like a patent strategist. We're diving deep to find out where the real innovation, and let's be honest, the real value is actually hiding in this massive industry. Let's jump in.
So the big splashy headline for aluminum is just sheer volume. We're talking almost 82 million tons produced globally, every single year. I mean, it's in everything. Cars, planes, you name it. We're churning out more than ever. But here's the thing. If you think that massive number is the whole story, you're absolutely missing the point. The most valuable part is hidden.
Right, because for the people who are actually driving this industry forward, the innovators, the R&D folks, the patent engineers, that huge production number, it's just noise. The real signal, the place where the real money is made, is somewhere else completely. So the big question is, where do we even start looking?
Well, here's the secret. Value doesn't follow volume, it follows stress. It pops up in the places where the industry is getting squeezed, stretched, and forced to change. That's where the really tough problems are. And, solving those problems is what valuable patents are all about.
So this is really the key takeaway. If you're trying to build valuable, defensible IP in the aluminum world, you have to become a hunter for these stress points. Think of them like a treasure map. They show you exactly where the industry is going and where the next big innovations are going to be.
And right now, aluminum is getting squeezed from three main directions. First, you've got this insane growth, right? It's pushing into territory that used to belong to steel. Second, there's a ton of new regulation, especially around carbon. And third, there's this huge uncertainty factor because we're using more and more recycled scrap, which comes with a whole cocktail of junk we don't want. Every single one of these, it's a total goldmine for patent opportunities.
All right, let's dive into that first zone of opportunity, the one that's all about regulation pressure, making aluminum green. And just to be clear, we're not talking about marketing fluff here. We're talking about patenting the actual how.
And this is such a critical distinction. You absolutely cannot patent the idea of green aluminum. I mean, that's just a marketing slogan, and any patent office would laugh you out of the room because it's, well, obvious. But what you can patent, and where the real value is, are the nitty-gritty technical solutions. How do you actually keep a smelter stable and efficient under these new conditions? How do you make sure your anodes don't fall apart? Those are the brilliant, non-obvious, and super valuable inventions.
Check this out. This is a perfect real-world example. So all that recycled scrap creates a huge headache: impurities. The barrage process is this clever fix where you bubble inert gas, like argon, through the molten aluminum to basically scrub it clean. And this just nails the point, doesn't it? The patent isn't for using recycled aluminum. No way. It's for the specific process that lets you use a ton of scrap, up to 80%, and still get high-quality metal. That's a massive win, both for your bottom line and for the planet. And the innovation here isn't just about playing with the metal itself, it's going digital. We're talking Industry 4.0 hitting the smelter. Think about it, using AI and a bunch of smart sensors to control every little thing: energy use, temperature, spotting impurities on the fly. This creates a whole new world of patentable stuff. The IP isn't in the metal, it's in the code, the control system that makes the whole thing smarter, cheaper, and way more reliable.
So if you want to get a patent approved, especially in Europe, you've got to tick these boxes. First, you have to solve a real technical problem, not a business one, a technical one, like cutting CO2. Second, you got to be specific. Define your limits, your trade-offs, the exact conditions. And third, the whole point has to be about making the process work reliably under these new tough rules. That's what they want to see.
Okay, on to our second big opportunity zone, which is all about that high growth pressure. This is where aluminum is trying to step into the ring and go head-to-head with steel. It's about making it tough enough to play in the big leagues.
So here's the core engineering challenge, laid out plain and simple. Look at steel. It's super stiff. Aluminum alloys, they're only about a third as stiff. And strength? Steel can take a lot more force before it gives up. This is why you can't just take a steel part out of a car and pop in an aluminum one. It would just fold. That performance gap is the whole problem we need to solve.
And this quote just nails it. The idea of replacing steel with something lighter, like aluminum. Duh, that's obvious. Any first-year engineering student would suggest that. But the invention, the patentable genius, is figuring out how to make aluminum survive in a job that was designed for steel. That's the magic trick. So how do we do it? Well, the main tool in the toolbox is alloying.
It's kind of like being a master chef. You take your base aluminum and you add just a pinch of other elements, lithium, copper, magnesium, zinc, and you completely change its properties. You can create whole families of new materials, each one tuned for a very specific task.
And here's a concrete example that's just awesome. Remember that stiffness problem we talked about? Well, if you add a little bit of lithium, which is crazy light, to aluminum, you get an alloy that's not only lighter, but also up to 30% stiffer. For something like an airplane, that is an absolute game changer. You're directly solving a huge, well-known problem. That's a patent right there.
So to land a really strong patent here, you need to tell a clear story. First, you have to define the original problem that steel was solving. Then, you have to show exactly why regular aluminum just can't cut it. And finally, you present your hero, the specific alloy, the clever design, the new process that closes that gap and lets aluminum win.
Okay, so we've looked at green processes and we've looked at the challenge from steel. Let's zoom out and put it all together. What's the big picture strategic view here? What really makes an aluminum patent valuable? And here's the formula, right here. A truly valuable aluminum patent isn't just about a cool new alloy. It's about a claim that directly solves a real-world constraint. CO2, durability, whatever it is. It connects a process to an application, and it has a rock-solid industrial logic for why nobody thought of it before. That's the whole package.
So when you look at all this pressure from regulators, from competitors, from the messiness of recycling, it's easy to see them as just problems, but they're not. They're actually the engines driving innovation. They're forcing the entire industry to level up.
And this really brings it all home. The future isn't about just cranking out more tons of aluminum. The real value, the real prize, is figuring out how to make it reliable, efficient, and sustainable under a whole new playbook. So for all you strategists and engineers out there, here's the bottom line. The aluminum industry isn't crowded, it's pressurized. And whatever your biggest headache is right now, your biggest pressure point, that's exactly where your biggest patent opportunity is hiding. So the question I'll leave you with is this: what problem are you going to solve?